Pretty wacky cartoon graphics today, Charles, for the Ice Age Minneapolis. How are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. My the next generation is here, having arrived last night, my time. So that's all good. Everyone's safe. And yes, the situation. I mean, the art department has outdone itself again, yet again. But the notion that the mayor of Minneapolis could side with the anti-ICE protesters and think that that's remotely reasonable is just beyond stupidity.
Yeah.
Somebody is pointing out that Trump actually in April of last year issued an executive order. Buried within it, he talks about a condition of lawlessness is president of the United States where certain cities and states are embracing sanctuary cities in violation of law. People are pointing out that's an essential predicate to invoking there's some kind of Alien Act or Insurrection Act or whatever of
Insurrection Act.
1802
Yeah.
of 1802, and I think he is in fact doing. The administration is in fact doing that. And just speaking as, I mean, if you're 20 or 18 and you think that when you hit somebody you don't bleed because you watch a lot of video games and you're fine, having killed thousands of people on a screen, it's one thing. But when you're my age, and as you age, you begin to think more carefully about the collateral impact of just minor acts of violence, forgetting, getting shot or whatever. And it is not okay to welcome people, to encourage people to come into our country illegally and then commit, wanton acts of violence, as many of these illegals have done. It is furthermore certainly not okay to ask taxpayers who are already paying too much in taxes and we're not paying down our debt yet, to let these criminals steal money from the United States with gleeful abandon. I mean, there's a story being reported online, and I don't know that it's true, that the husband or wife, the wife and the husband, the guy who shot Ashley Babbitt, have
Yeah.
stolen $190 million in a fake daycare operation in
Well, is it
Maryland.
that
I
it
mean,
was stolen or it was funneled to them?
well, of course it was stolen. I mean, the $190 million for daycare, you'd have to be taking care of, I don't know, how many
It's a
thousand
lot of
people,
kids.
right? And, there's no way that's real. And that you could have a system which allows this to happen on that kind of scale, and nobody's prosecuted until now, beggars belief. It's ridiculous.
Well, Charles, sorry, here's breaking news from Yahoo Fact Checking. It says a wrong headline saying Michael Bird pocketed 190 million is
Yeah.
corrected by Gateway
Uh,
Pundit.
oh, really? Okay. So
Well,
how
it
much is?
says, does a viral screenshot of a headline claiming Michael Bird pocketed 190 million in HHS funds for an unaccredited daycare in Maryland show the current state of the article? No, that's not true. The Gateway Pundit website made several changes to the headline and the article over time, now pointing out 190 million is the total of all federal child care funds going to Maryland. Oh, so he stole much less, it sounds like.
No, no. Again, still, where are the Nick Shirleys in the CBS, ABC, NBC, Wall Street Journal, New York Times operations? Why does it fall to people like us to crowdsource the truth when these major outlets are just spreading propaganda and lies? And we're the ones who have to say, well, we don't have any training as investigative journalists. We're not accredited journalists like, fake yapper at CNN. Um, it's just ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous. And I hope that the United States cleans up its act. All I can tell you here in Malaysia, you come here and you start breaking the laws, you get in serious trouble very quickly.
Caning.
They don't mess around. Worse,
Yeah.
I mean, and and they simply don't mess around. And how we could have this idiot in New York City, idiot in Boston mayor, the idiot in Los Angeles, the idiot in Chicago, preening around, getting on the major talk shows, boasting about how they're going to get Trump, how they're going to support people who are anti-ICE and still be in power. I mean, it shouldn't be a political spectrum issue that you're against illegal aliens stealing billions of dollars in government programs. That should be 100% agreement from progressive to conservative. If you're supporting this, you're a criminal.
Yeah. Charles, did you see this backlash against this woman who looks like she's straight out of a Wallace and Gromit cartoon?
That's right.
Backlash.
Yeah,
who could have thought?
Well, and apparently people started asking her about her millionaire parents and their property, and she started crying.
Oh my God.
Crying.
Very, very well suited for the job. There's no crying. You're fired. See you, Weaver. See you later is a better name for this lady.
and again, when you start talking about, the state is going to seize your property, the founders understood that it's absolutely no. That's something that happened in England. It's one of the reasons King Charles I was executed.
You did see, though, that he's offering free bus fare to Crazy Town, right?
What do you mean by that?
He's like, well, if you're not taking care of the building, we're just going to take it. It's like, okay, here's your ticket to Crazy Town. Get out of here. See ya later.
Exactly. Who's to decide what taking care of means?
Right. Seizing the means.
You either have private property or you don't. And if this precedent stands, imagine what's going to happen with the next moron, who runs for mayor. How far they're going to go. You get that idiot at the World Economic Forum, Klaus Daniel Schwab. Everybody in X years is going to be happy owning nothing and living in a tiny 200 square foot apartment, asking permission to go more than 15 miles a day.
Yeah.
Because of climate change. I mean, get the fuck out of here.
You're right.
Meanwhile, he and his wife used a foundation to buy, I think it was a 30 million euro mansion, and then spend 50 million euros in a foundation fixing it up that only he and his wife can use. But you have to live in a 200 square foot apartment.
No, you can't even live there. They're going to throw you out. But Charles, just to not bury our lead, we should talk about this largest in the agency's history ICE operation happening in Minneapolis. Whoops. PBS wants you to donate now, Charles. Also, they decided, I think, to do something with Sesame Street, which we can talk about later, which makes sense. Why should our federal funds be supporting a multi-billion-dollar franchise? But ICE agents in Minneapolis, one lady tried to run them over and she got shot. Everybody's pissed off.
You try to run over an ICE agent, you're lucky if you're still alive.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
I would think.
Everybody is not upset. I'm not upset about that. Is she alive?
Right. She's
lucky.
Dead. She's dead.
But she's dead. Shot by the ICE?
Yep.
You can't try to run over a federal agent and get away with that.
No.
I mean, what's happening, it's interesting to contrast what's happening in Minneapolis with what's happening in Iran. And I don't know the latest, but as of my time last night, certain cities in Iran have fallen to the protesters. The troops and the police are siding with the protesters.
Whoa.
Now, I don't think that is a spontaneous demonstration. I have every suspicion that various deep state actors are involved propelling that.
Yeah.
But you cannot you either have a system of law or you don't. If a federal officer or state or local officer tries to enforce the law, you do not have a right to try to run that officer over. And if a government officer illegally uses his or her power to try to seize something of yours, right, that person needs to be severely punished. You cannot have government officials breaking the law, but you don't have the right as a private citizen to take the law in your own hands and try to kill. I mean, running somebody over with a car, you could kill a federal officer, and of course, that officer has the right to defend him or herself.
Setting
And the
aside just
hothead,
rights for a minute, Charles, you got to be stupid because, look, as much as I dislike cops abusing their authority and whatever, it's smart for people to recognize that if you get into too much of a tangle with a cop, we've developed this kind of culture where people think, I'm a sovereign citizen or I watch TV and I can fight the cops. But if you get into a disagreement, there's a reason why they say tell it to the judge. If you try to take it up with the cop, they could decide right there and you could be shot and then there is no judge.
in this life, excuse me, in this life.
Right.
Yeah, I
Very.
mean, and so all the people who are on the campai, siding with Somalis, I mean, it should be a wake-up call to the IRS and the Department of Justice. What the hell is going on in our university systems? That the reflexive answer of the campai is to be against the government, specifically the Trump administration. How does that make these campi representative of the public at large and public charities? Answer, it doesn't. So, I just saw a story that Yale now costs $87,000 a year. 87. I mean, I think that's twice what the average income is per earner in an American family. Twice. How is that reasonable?
No, it's not. No. This says tuition, room, board, and fees is approximately $90,000, and it says tuition alone $69,900. Could be wrong. It might be more than $90,000.
Yeah, I mean that's a base level estimate. And it's absurd. It's just absurd. And really, I've been using Gemini, which is the Google AI, and it's really something. I mean, I hope that somebody, whether it's Musk or some other person with a lot of resources, sets about the task of going over all, peer-reviewed publications from, let's say, 1965 forward, to ferret out how many of them are complete fraud and bunk. I'm going to guess at least 35% of all these articles. And when you start debating somebody with a PhD, they say, well, you have no peer-reviewed writing, right? And a lot of these peer-reviewed articles, when I was thinking hard about what was going on in the world of fighting AIDS, these articles are all, recitations of what other people have written. You have the first sentence is some general sentence with a footnote, and then you have, a footnote is like 200 words of so Schneebly says this and bullshit artist says that, and as noted in the Yale Oncology Journal or whatever, and it's just people are reciting stuff that has been garbage that has somehow managed to be peer reviewed. All of that needs to be cleaned out. And there actually are people who brag about getting peer-reviewed articles published that are just complete gibberish.
Jargon.
They're just gibberish. Like
even worse
stuff that it's not even, but it gets in the Yale, Journal of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion or whatever.
Wow, there's a lot of articles about how compromised the peer review system is, just using the Ortel's first rule to look it up.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the aim. The overarching aim of enemies of the United States of America is to destroy the public's trust in media, in academia, in what our government stands for, and to lead us into a condition of pure anarchy. That's the direction our enemies want us to go in. And so when you see government officials embracing that, this mayor of Minneapolis, I would arrest him on camera if I were Trump. I really would.
In Iran, they're doing it Belgium style, Charles. They're just cutting off people's hands. The army chief, he hits out at foreign rhetoric targeting Iran and threatens decisive action to cut off the hand of any aggressor.
Yeah, it's not it's not the business of the United States of America to protect everybody around the world. We don't have those resources, and who says people really want that? But you look at Iran, it is a text, a casebook study in government failure. I mean, that was a great country. Its history is rich. It's made a lot of very important contributions to science, the arts, to humanities, et cetera, going over millennia. And basically, in my entire lifetime, I have been unable to go there. And the people who live there, sure, the people who feed off the carcasses at the top of the food chain there, they're doing okay. The mullahs are doing okay in their families, but the average Iranian is not.
Why are you unable to go there? It's a more free society than London.
No. If you go, I think if you go to, first of all, I think American citizens are not allowed to go there.
There was that guy, Scott Bennett, went there somehow.
What happened to him?
Well, I don't know. He came back and he was kind of a jackass, but I think he died of cancer, but it had nothing to do with Iran, as far as I know.
I think the State Department warns you against going, and I think once you get there, you're an obvious candidate to be arrested and used as bait. And it's crazy to go there.
It's true. Nobody said he was smart.
Yeah, but at least he got back until he died, and he's now still dead.
Exactly.
But
unfortunately for him.
Yeah. So this Minneapolis ICE raid, I think it's also been reported that the way the UN, in quotes, works, they appoint a president of either the General Assembly or the Security Council. I think it's the Security Council. And the president of the Security Council right now is a representative, not the leader, but a representative of Somalia, who some have tied to this actual fraud in Minneapolis. And I was talking to somebody, I won't say who it was, and they were talking about Trump's actions in Venezuela are in violation of international law. And I said, tell me what you mean by that. What is international law? Well, the UN, this and that. And I said, well, how is the UN system anything approaching a system that makes sense for the mass of humanity? In the UN, 5 of 200 states have veto power. We have veto power in China, now Russia, and the UK and France. Why should the UK and France have a veto power over anything going on in the UN? They're no longer significant nations. Neither nation can govern itself. Why should why should representatives of the UN, of France and the UK have veto power? Why should anybody have veto power?
Well, not only that, Charles, isn't it just a stated fact that the United States has rejected the submission of our sovereignty to the International Criminal Court? And if there's no enforcement power, there's obviously no law. It's more sort of like international friendly agreement, so long as we still like you.
No, it's international. It's excuses to go on international junkets and get your government or your NGO to pay for hookers and fancy meals and private jet travel around the world. It's not a serious system that we have now, by design.
I just meant in terms of what you were saying about international law and is it actually a thing. I agree with you. It's not. So this is saying Somali UN ambassador linked to questionable Cincinnati Health Service Agency, RFK Jr. deputy says. This was just yesterday.
I think, forgive me for this, but I think you could take every serious supposed leader at the UN or any part of the UN and investigate them, and you're going to discover that they and or their families are in the grift mill business, one way or another.
Who was that guy, Khan, who was raping the maids at the hotel?
Yeah, if you, I had a friend in college who had an internship at the UN, and his mentor joked about the fact that he had 39 custom-made suits. He was the guy probably died. His name is Sammy Kumbuo from, I think, Ghana. And we would say, well, how did he make it, get the money to buy 39 custom-made suits? And he said, well, first, in the UN, you don't pay taxes to anybody, any government off your salary. And he said, bribes. Different countries are all trying to get the individual states to side with them. So it's a well-known fact that virtually all UN officials are hopelessly corrupt. Yeah, I would shut that place down.
Yeah, 100%.
And on the question of Greenland, people are saying, oh, well, if Trump invades Greenland or takes Greenland, then NATO will have to fight the United States. Good luck with that.
But wait a minute, hasn't he been saying the whole time that he's not going to invade it? He's going to make them some kind of money offer and let the people of Greenland decide if they want to basically be sold to the United States?
He's been saying both. But the point is, the notion that there is a serious NATO without the United States. I mean, the United States provides about 90% of the military fighting experience that NATO uses when when parts of NATO other than the United States pretend to be a fighting force. You have like the famed Belgian Navy take on the United States. I mean, come on.
I saw a show where they were going through all the different meals of the different militaries from around the world and how terrible each one was. I forget who came in first on that. Charles, in just about 3 minutes, we're going to make our way over to the First Amendment Forum. There's a lot to talk about. I know you've been busy family visiting and all that. Candace Owens released some pretty important evidence, actually, in this Charlie Kirk murder investigation. She has an image. Well, she claims to have the whole video, but she was showing this image from the camera behind Charlie Kirk. I don't know what she was waiting for to show this to everybody or how she got it all of a sudden, but this is what she claimed to have seen a while ago, where there's no exit wound visible and all that. In my view, this supports the theory that I've been talking about. You wouldn't see an entry wound from a bullet, particularly not, she's got a very transcoded, kind of blown up, blurry video here. There's not a lot of detail there. I remain confused and amazed by how many people look at a totally crap, recompressed, cropped, blurry video like this and think, oh, that's the definitive evidence. There's no gunshot wound, so that's it, case closed. It's interesting evidence, of course, but we've got to see the original footage from that. But Candace Owens releasing a lot of evidence there.
Yeah, we still, and then I think there's also a photo of Erica 10 years before Charlie with some new guy. Remember that video? I watched her say that she didn't date people and this and that.
Yeah, she kind of made that up. The other thing that's interesting is I found this article. Candace Owens has been talking about this Fort Huachuca, and people were attacking the witness that she had. I don't know too much about that guy, but I found this article which basically is saying that this very same ISR jet that Cullen had identified in a very strange way before he decided to withdraw from the internet after trying to destroy me, that self-same jet is here at Fort Huachuca, and they're talking about it in this article. So, I don't really know what that means, but it's an interesting linkage between those two strange bits of evidence. To me, Charles, it's still the craziest part about the whole Charlie Kirk assassination is the amount of attention and energy around the cover-up. We also have to talk about what you think about Dan Bongino going back to being a loser. Back to being a podcaster after doing nothing at the FBI. But people can join us in the First Amendment Forum by subscribing to Crowdsource the Truth. I hope that people will do that. Join us on subscribestar.com or patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack. And of course, people who follow me on X at JG_CSTT. We'll be right back in 5 minutes. Stay with us.